All recognize this man right here. Show of hands. Let's see, an author, a playwright, poet, lawyer. I don't know. Next slide. How about this man? Everybody, right? We just started a speech last week that said this man needs no introduction. He's the face of Nazi Germany, the face of evil in the 20th century. And next slide. This man was Hitler's right-hand man. And without Dr. Joseph Goebbels, Hitler probably never would have rose to power. Goebbels was a master of propaganda. He was the one that shaped the Nazi image. And he was appointed Minister of Propaganda by Hitler later in his life. He was the only senior Nazi official to be with Hitler during his final moments in the Führer bunker, and actually was appointed Hitler's successor in his will as Chancellor of Germany. So Dr. Goebbels was actually Chancellor of Nazi Germany for about a day, and then he committed suicide himself. But before I go too far into his later years, I want to back up a little bit and talk about him as a boy. So let's set the Wayback Machine for 1897. Dr. Joseph Goebbels was born the son of a lower middle class bookkeeper. And unfortunately, he had a leg condition, which necessitated the use of a metal brace that he had to wear throughout his whole life. And you can kind of imagine the mental effects that this might have on him. Just think of him in school. Other boys his age are playing dodgeball or kickball, and he's on the sidelines with this awkward metal brace. And for a man like Goebbels, that'd be incredibly hard to take. Here the universe is telling him, you're not as good as other people. Other people are better than you because of this sort of physical deformity that he had. And so this became, I think, a major driving factor in his life, this need to prove himself better than others. As a result of this brace, he wasn't eligible for World War I. And so he went instead to the University of Heidelberg, where he met Else Janke. And he fell in love with her and became engaged. Until he found out that her mother was a Jew. And just like that, the engagement was broken off. He wrote in his diary, "She told me her roots. Since then, her charms have been destroyed for me." Now imagine that. At 25 years old, somebody so poisoned already that they wouldn't marry the love of their life because their mother was a different religion. It's really inconceivable. Someone not much older than anybody in this audience here, and they are already so corrupted. And so we have a very good sort of point right here in his life where he was already incredibly anti-Semitic. And this anti-Semitism, which he sort of developed over his college years, really drove him as well. So this is the second driving factor in his life. After college, he went and tried to be a playwright, where he didn't really succeed. And so he became a local politician in Berlin for the Nazi Party, where he had some success. An interesting thing is that he and Hitler didn't get along at first. As a matter of fact, he co-authored a paper calling for Hitler's expulsion from the Nazi Party. Until they met, though. And then, one fateful day, Hitler granted Goebbels a private audience. And Goebbels walked out of that meeting completely convinced that Hitler had everything right. He wrote in his diary, "I love him. He has thought through everything. Such a sparkling mind can be my leader. I bow to the greater one, the political genius." And this was the third driving factor in his life. This unswerving devotion, this incredible amount of loyalty to Hitler. And we already know Hitler is, of course, incredibly charismatic. But consider that just in one meeting, he convinced someone who was not a fan of him going into the meeting, but at the end of it, was ready to devote his whole life to serving him. After this meeting, he went back to Berlin and helped bring the Nazi Party up through the political ranks. He was responsible for Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass, the night where thousands of Jewish homes, synagogues, and businesses were destroyed, and over 100 Jews were killed. It seems like a mob action, but it was actually Dr. Goebbels behind it, a master of propaganda and manipulating the common person. Once Hitler assumed power, he appointed the Reich Minister of Propaganda. This gave him an incredible amount of power over all forms of media. We're talking art, theater, newspapers, radio. All of this was under the direct control of Dr. Joseph Goebbels. You wonder how an entire country might be corrupted by anti-Semitism and just the general fear and hatred. You're looking at the face of the man that pulled it off. And he was known for being incredibly anti-Semitic, and even in Nazi circles. And trust me, when your standards of judgment for anti-Semitism are Nazis, you're pretty bad. He encouraged Germany to fight to the last, to basically every last man, woman, and child to try and fight, and he thought that it was proper that if they were to lose, that Germany itself would be destroyed. I want to end this speech a little unusually, and that is with a warning that the next Goebbels or Hitler is very possibly in this world right now. As a matter of fact, with 7 billion people, it's almost a mathematical certainty that someone with the capabilities of Goebbels and Hitler exists right now. But these men are not to be feared on their own, because the truth is, without people, Goebbels or Hitler wouldn't have been anything, just another couple of failed artists that the world would never have noticed. There were great tacticians capable of defeating enemy generals, modern-day Napoleons that had such incredible heads of strategy that nobody could compare to them. They weren't incredible scientists or engineers capable of devising the next superweapon or incredible armor. Now, what made these people powerful was just that, other people. Their ability to convince others to give up the higher principles of equality, charity, justice, and to swap them instead for hatred, bigotry, and fear. That's what made Goebbels powerful. That's what enabled him to do what he was. Next slide, please. Now, I can't find any instances of him kicking a puppy off a bridge or drowning a litter of kittens, because the truth is he wasn't a monster. He was a man. And what you see in this picture is not a monster holding a little girl, but a man. He was a person with hopes and dreams, like anyone else, and I don't doubt that he dearly loved his children, and he wanted them to succeed in life, and he generally thought that he was doing the right thing. But this is a man with such an incredible degree of cruelty and brutality inside of him. But at the end of the day, he's just a man. And that's far scarier than any fictional monster. Thank you.